Good morning. European travel demand is resilient, and the past year wasn't about weak demand. It was about managing stronger demand under mounting pressures. Pressure on household budgets, pressure on destination infrastructure, and pressure from climate and geopolitical uncertainty. The challenge was not convincing Europeans to travel. It was keeping travel affordable, reliable, sustainable, and welcoming. And despite all of this, travel remains a high-priority discretionary spend category in the UK, France, and Germany that you just saw a little while ago. This is above other items such as electronics, health and beauty, or home improvements. Travelers still want to take trips, but they are more deliberate about which destinations feel worth it and which platforms feel trustworthy. So, how did this all manifest itself into actual traveler behavior and their attitudes? Travelers are making trip decisions at the intersection of convenience, confidence, and control. Convenience is where travelers are doing less research and they want easier digital experiences. OTAs now lead general search for trip component research, and online booking is near universal. Confidence is where travelers still rely on trusted human and institutional resources to decide whether to act. Personal recommendations, reviews, and travel agents remain more trusted than AI or influencer content. Control is where travelers want to know what happens to their data, how identity tools help them, and whether a destination feels safe and welcoming. So these are commercial issues, not just consumer sentiment. Digital ID, data use, and geopolitical uncertainties all require clear benefits, safety, and opt-in value. Now, convenience is not just about wanting things faster. It's about reducing the effort required to make a good decision. And the first convenience shift is planning compression. Air and hotel are trip components booked furthest out, and the percentage of travelers booking either of these less than a month from departure increased in the past 12 months. Further, across all three markets, fewer travelers agree that they do a lot of research before booking. Now, this isn't disengagement, it's delegation. Travelers are shifting more of the work to platforms, aggregators, and tools that can organize the choice set for them. And while we didn't explicitly ask, I am willing to bet AI is impacting this as well. A third or more indicated they expect to increase their AI usage for travel in the next 12 months. And as I mentioned, OTAs have moved ahead of general search as the top online resource for trip component research. AI platforms are still secondary, but they are growing and now ahead of social networks. The implication is important for the entire industry. The platform that saves time is increasingly also the platform that shapes the consideration set. Now, online booking is effectively a default behavior, and that's across traveler segments. Though adoption still varies somewhat by market and age, travelers want a quick and easy booking, a simple search process, trusted results, and reviews. And while the percentages might shift year over year, these top 5 factors are solid. And even in a digital-first booking environment, the winning factors aren't futuristic. They are functional. But assistance is worth watching. Human assistance is still more important than AI assistance in the UK and France, and a little more split in Germany. So the direction of travel is not fully automated booking. It's better execution, fewer steps, clearer options, better assurance when the traveler reaches a point of uncertainty. And that point of uncertainty is where we move from convenience to confidence. Now, when travelers are doing less research and moving faster through the funnel, the trust signals inside that journey become more important. Trust is about the source. Who is giving me this information, and can I believe it? Confidence is about the decision. Am I comfortable enough to choose, book, pay, or keep going? So the question is not simply whether travelers use digital tools or AI, because they clearly will. The question is whether those tools can give travelers enough trusted evidence to act. So people and proven intermediaries still outrank AI. Personal recommendations remain the strongest source because they are known, contextual, and low risk. Retail agents and agencies also perform well because they add professional accountability. And reviews matter because they provide evidence from other travelers. Now, AI-generated results also have a role to play, but they sit lower in the trust hierarchy. That does not make AI irrelevant. It means AI needs grounding. Travelers will be more comfortable with AI when it is connecting recommendations to reviews, explain why options fit a specific trip, and the handoff to a trusted booking environment. The future is accountable intelligence, and by this I mean recommendations that show their evidence, explain their fit, and connect the traveler to support if something changes. AI can support the decision, but the confidence layer is still personal and professional guidance. Now, Mike shared yesterday that a meaningful share of travelers now use AI for their trip planning, in-destination assistance, and booking decisions. And adoption is rising across all three markets. And where travelers engage with AI matters. Standalone platforms remain the most common, but AI is increasingly embedded in search engines, maps, and travel platforms. Further, AI is already influencing trip decisions. Among AI users, roughly 9 in 10 say they made a trip decision based on information from AI. But the reliance pattern is more modest. The highest decision point is only mentioned by about a third of travelers. Influence is shifting towards tools that reduce effort and build confidence. Now, how travelers interact with AI is also as important as where and for what, and we should not overstate its adoption. Most are using AI for a few questions or a back-and-forth conversation that helps with some key decisions. Very few say that they relied on AI the most for planning, and that distinction matters. So, AI is useful, but it is not yet the primary authority. It's a planning companion, not a full replacement for trusted sources. And there's a real openness to booking with AI, with roughly 3 in 10 AI-aware travelers saying they would let an AI assistant book flights and hotels inside an AI platform as that option becomes available. But there is a skeptical group that is just as important. A similar or larger share say AI is unable to provide the specific information they need for the type of trip they want. So the commercial opportunity is not simply to add an AI chatbot. It is to create a credible handoff from inspiration to booking to support, where the traveler sees the recommendation, understands the evidence, and knows where the booking happens, and knows where to find help if something goes wrong. Further, about a quarter of travelers said they don't use AI for travel, and they don't intend to. And while that does skew towards older travelers, they are still a significant portion of the traveling population. Now, confidence gets travelers to the decision, and control determines whether they are comfortable with what happens next, what data they share, how their identity is used, whether the journey feels safe, and whether they can adjust if circumstances change. Digital identity sits at the heart of control. The European Union's digital identity wallet is a major initiative aimed at giving citizens a secure, unified digital identity across all EU members. And the wallet puts privacy at its core. Citizens can selectively share specific data without revealing unrelated personal information. So the policy language is about digital identity, but the consumer language should be about control. What I share, with who, for what benefit, and whether I can move through the journey more easily. High familiarity with the EU digital identity wallet is limited. Less than 1 in 5 travelers say they are familiar or very familiar with the EU wallet. But adoption intent is stronger among those familiar with it. That means the barrier is not simply resistance, it's understanding. 16 to 38% of travelers identified at least one benefit. Cross-border use, security, reduced identity theft, and faster processing at airports and border all resonated. But it is worth mentioning The control over personal data is one of the least recognized benefits. This is a communication gap. The policy promises control over personal data, but the travelers are more likely to recognize tangible journey benefits. The industry has to translate privacy architecture into travel benefits people can feel. So familiarity with respective local digital IDs is higher than that of the EU, ranging from 41 to 51%, which makes sense since these programs are already in place. But having one digital identity doesn't mean travelers won't adopt another. Country-level IDs may be familiar, but they don't create consistent, consumer-facing, cross-border travel experiences in the way the EU wallet is intended to support. And we know 44 to 60% of travelers in the UK, France, and Germany travel to other countries within Europe. But trust and identity tools and biometrics vary by market and by institution. Germany shows strong trust in its local digital ID, while France is more cautious across all of these. So the trust problem is not only whether the technology is secure, it is whether the traveler understands the exchange. So don't lead with data collection. Lead with the consumer benefit, make consent visible, and give travelers a feeling of control. Now, travelers are not rejecting data sharing, but they are drawing clear lines around comfort levels that split into two tiers. Practical and transactional tier. This is the highest comfort level, comes when the value exchange is immediate and obvious. Sharing travel documents to speed check-in, profile details for faster checkout. These are give-to-get scenarios where the traveler sees a direct, tangible benefit. And then we have the behavioral and cross-platform tier. Comfort drops noticeably when data use becomes less transparent. Browsing history for personalization, real-time location tracking, or sharing information across companies. Travelers are not saying, never use my data. They are saying, show me the value, limit the use case, and make control visible. Data control is not a legal footnote. It is part of the product experience. Companies that frame data sharing around clear value and give travelers visible control will earn higher trust and engagement. Now, control is not only digital, it's also situational. Travelers are evaluating whether destinations feel safe, whether disruption is manageable, and whether they have flexibility if conditions change. Geopolitical uncertainty is not eliminating travel demand, but it is changing the risk. 39 to 56% of travelers indicated that they may reconsider their travel plans. For many travelers, the decision is not about will I travel, but it's where do I feel comfortable going and what reassurances do I need to commit. And across all three markets, discomfort is higher for long-haul trips outside of Europe than for domestic or intra-European travel. And we also see a noticeable U.S. effect, with around 4 in 10 travelers in each market less comfortable than a year ago nor willing to go at all to the United States. Now, this does not mean travel demand disappears. It means the industry has to work harder to provide the traveler with the comfort and confidence that they need. They need to reduce perceived risk and reinforce flexibility and safety, especially around long-haul decisions. So future travel intent is still strong. Only a small share say they do not plan to take any leisure trips in the next 12 months. Domestic and intra-European travel remain core, while long-haul trips outside of Europe are more cautious. And this is why the story is not demand destruction. It is demand redirection and demand qualification. Cost is the counterweight to this. Nearly half of UK travelers and more than half of French travelers agree that the high cost of everyday goods and services may cause them to travel less. At the same time, many travelers say they are more likely to save so they can travel rather than spend on other goods and services. So this is the tension the industry needs to manage. Travel is protected, but it's not unlimited. That creates pressure on every part of the value proposition: price transparency, flexibility, loyalty, and reasons to trade up. So I leave you with 4 areas of focus for the European traveler. Reduce friction. Travelers are not abandoning research, but they want less effort. Prove trustworthy. Human recommendations and reviews and recognized brands still matter. Use AI for specific jobs, research, comparison, itinerary support. And make data control visible. Digital identity and personalization will only work if travelers understand the benefit and feel they have control. So the next phase of European travel will be won by companies that do these things because the travelers want enough confidence to commit. For more detailed information on these topics and other consumer insights, please go to Phocuswright's 2026 European Consumer Travel Report published last week. Thank you.